This is Get UNSTUCK Podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who prioritize their life first, business second. I'm Mutita Panmook, your host, who dedicates my life to designing and building a business that supports lifestyle. We will learn together from entrepreneurs around the world how they overcome their life challenges, their business obstacles, and yet still get unstuck from the hamster wheel of burying themselves into their business. Because time is the number one commodity in the world that you cannot get back once it's gone. So let's shorten the learning curve and see how can we prioritize better. Let's get unstuck. Hi, Get Unstuck Nation. Welcome to Get Unstuck Radio again with an interesting episode. So today we have Christina Woods, who is the CEO and founder of Wisewood Hypnotherapy and Coaching. We are going to talk deep today. So be prepared, all ears, take a deep breath in and out. So we are going to talk about how can we know ourselves better and cope with our life better to get clear in our mind and also get unstuck from our brain basically and move on to be a better person mentally today. So please welcome Christina today to Get Unstuck Radio.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Mutita.
I'm excited to speak with you.
That was a good intro. The breathe in and breathe out is how I start every session. You did really good.
I was like, this is a good way to start this podcast. At least to level down my excitement after speak with you off mic.
Nice and calm.
Okay, before we get to the sweet part though, how you started your entrepreneurial journey though?
You know, it's really interesting. So this is my second career and it's completely different than my first career. I had a 30-year corporate career as a vice president in the higher education space, leading, hundreds of people across the United States and traveling quite a bit. And as I was approaching my midlife, I started to feel that, wow, there's really something more meaningful and important that I wanted to do that fed my soul. And I started to have some big life changes going on, as many midlifers start to feel as their kids leave home, and my health started changing, having some issues, and my marriage went away after 20 something years. And it just makes you think, like, is this really what I want to do? And I didn't know exactly what I wanted. Hypnotherapy was actually the furthest thing from my mind. I knew I wanted to really work with probably women and own my own business. And I had all these leadership skills and certainly business acumen behind me. But on that self journey of doing my own self work and self-development, I came across hypnotherapy and I thought, wow, this is so powerful and so simple. And I know many people don't know about it, or they're afraid of it, or they see it on TV and think, well, that seems a little strange. But it's so powerful and impactful that it really just resonated with me. And from there, I learned so many different modalities, and I weave in all the coaching and all the beautiful things I learned for the past 30 years and mix it all together to work with my clients. So that's how it started about 3.5 years ago. And my business has been thriving, and I teach a lot of courses and groups, do a lot of one-on-one work. I'm planning a retreat now in a few months.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Retreat. I love retreat. Like every time that come back from retreat is like rebirth.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. We're going to close up those leaky energies from the past and whatever we need to fix, and then so that we can be present in the now, because when we have all these things from the past that we haven't dealt with, it's pretty hard to move forward. And, maybe we'll dip into some of that.
Since you mentioned that, when we have something in the past that we haven't dealt with, we cannot move forward for it. Why we have to deal with the past?
That is the question. That's a beautiful question. So, and just to give it a little bit of a framework, in our mind, we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And our conscious mind is our thinking mind, our critical thinking mind, and we need it, of course. And our subconscious mind is our feeling mind, our emotional mind. But that's 95% running the show of really how we feel about ourselves, the world, the lens that we look through the world. So if we think that we can logically kind of figure everything out, we really need to understand that's only 5% of how we really operate. 95% is how we feel. And most everything is in that subconscious mind. We're not even aware of it. It's kind of locked down in this place that it's just on autopilot. It's sort of like when you learn how to drive. At first, you're very conscious of it. I'm going to turn, I'm going to park, I'm going to turn the lights on. But after a while, you're talking on the phone, you're putting your lipstick on, you're eating a hamburger, whatever, right? You're doing stuff. You're not paying attention, or you're doing the dishes, you're watching TV, you're talking to someone at the same time. It's autopilot. And our feelings and the way we feel about ourselves in the world become autopilot. And then we go in a relationship, we go into work, we go things, and they're autopilot. And we don't realize, wow, I people please, I have shame, I have these things. They're just autopilot. So dealing with the past and why do we have these certain feelings, or whether it be a little bit of trauma or trauma, we call them little T's or big T's, in the therapy world, but it's really the meaning that we've attached to things that have happened to us. So it could be what is perceived to be a very small thing, like maybe our parents picked us up late from school. It seems like this very simple little thing, no big deal, but what is the meaning we attach to it at 7 years old? It might be very different than what our brother or sister attached to it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but what is the meaning that we attach to it that still remains in our subconscious? And you get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these little meanings, and they just become who we are and what we do. They're autopilot. So by going back and finding out what those are, we get to then literally reprogram like a computer, upgrade them. I mean, our phones need to be upgraded. Why wouldn't our subconscious need to be upgraded? So dealing with those things is so critical, because the only way forward is really through it. You can't bury it. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I'm just thinking along. So here's the thing. I think there are two types of people that okay, when we with scenario, when let's take relationship to a scenario. When we get into a relationship, we have a pattern, right? Okay, just go dating, and also like, okay, become into a relationship, committed, okay, move in, blah blah blah. This is a pattern. The way we speak is a pattern. The way that we take care of another partner is a pattern, and it's going to be similar every time that we are in the relationship. This is autopilot. Yes. I think there are going to be two types of consciousness, somehow conscious decision, that we are aware that this is good for doing, and we are going to keep doing that, versus we are aware that this is not good, but we're just going to do it anyway.
You're right. There is a certain level of awareness that eventually, unfortunately, the way humans are is we have to get to a point where, we have to be uncomfortable and have some relationships that don't work out, or have some situations where, we become unhappy, or maybe, we feel lost, or we feel sad, or we don't like the fact that we start to notice that maybe we spend money when we shouldn't, or we eat cookies every night at 10 o'clock when we know we're not even hungry, or we start to notice patterns. And so just being aware, it's like, why do I do that? Why do I say that? Just really being curious. And it doesn't mean we're a bad person or we are doing anything wrong. We all have patterns. We all have these programs. You cannot exist without having these programs and patterns. And we're certainly not all doing everything, the perfect way. There is no such thing. But what's so beautiful is that if there's a pattern, or a program in your life when it comes to relationships, or you don't feel like your needs are being met, but it's really uncomfortable for you to ask your partner how to meet your needs, or you don't even know what your needs are. That's pretty common. Like, I don't even know how to meet my needs. I'm used to just meeting my partner's needs, and then I'm okay. I just ignore my own needs. There is a way to change that. So just even being curious, and that's how most of my clients will reach out to me. They'll just say, I don't know, but I seem to always date people who ignore my feelings and just talk about their feelings, or I always just do what they want to do and I never get to do what I want to do, and I'd like to do what I want to do. How do I do that? So we don't have to know really what it is or why, but that curiosity about a pattern you might notice, it's like, what is that about? And we dig in and we find out, why is that program there? What is that about? And it's quite simple. The mind learns by repetition, and your mind also wants to go back to what's familiar and what it thinks is keeping you safe. And Mutita, what's interesting is our tricky little mind doesn't even care if what we do is right or wrong or good or bad. It doesn't care. All it cares is if what you're doing, if it thinks that it's safe and going to keep you alive. So if a behavior in a relationship, if your mind thinks that that is keeping you safe, even if it's self-sabotage, even if it's not in your best interest or keeps you lonely or keeps you, your feelings not being met, if that's keeping you safe, if it believes that's what it's doing, it's going to keep doing it. So until we make a new belief familiar and your mind goes, oh, speaking up for yourself and actually sharing how you feel is actually okay and safe, that's the only way it'll start to do it. It has to believe a new feeling and belief is safe.
Oh, so since you mentioned that, how can we change the belief then? Well, that's a big aha moment. Meaning that it doesn't matter at all. It's how you program it. That's it. That's it. That's all it's matter. Wow.
So awesome. Yeah. And I'm so glad you asked. So it's our mind, every thought we think and every word that we say creates, just think of it as like a blueprint. And just like when you're going to build a building, they have a set of blueprints and they're going to build the building according to the blueprints, or the car or whatever. That's sort of what every thought you think and every word we say creates this image in our mind. And our mind says, okay, that's the blueprint that I'm going to follow. So when we want to change the blueprint, we have to first find out, well, why is that the blueprint? And then we start creating different images and different words in your mind to create a different blueprint. So when I work with clients, we go in and we find out, all right, why are these beliefs here in the first place? And then I create a custom audio recording that's very specific. So if you were my client, I would make it special for you, and it would be about 15-20 minutes, and you would listen to it every day for about a month, every single day in hypnosis. So I would teach you how to roll up your eyes, and you would go into a hypnotic state, which feels super relaxed and chill. It's nothing creepy or scary. I'll tell you about that. And it's like a great little 20 minutes of your life every day, and you're rewiring and recoding in what you're hearing until your mind starts to say, oh, okay, speaking up for yourself, having boundaries, doing this new thing, these are feelings that you like. Okay, we're gonna start to latch on to these new beliefs, and they just become who you are. They become your new autopilot.
Interesting. What is it that would be like most issue that people has that you find?
Wow. So, well, most people have some level of anxiety that shows up somewhere in their life. And I find I am not enough is one of the most common beliefs that people struggle with. I'm not enough, and also the belief that like something isn't available to them. So maybe it's money isn't available to me, success isn't available to me, or love isn't available to me, or that thing they want. So you'll hear people say, I'm just never going to have a body like that, or I'm just never going to have that true love. I'm just, I'm fine, but I'm just never going to have that. They sort of have this deep sense that that's just not for me, that's for other people. But I'm not enough is a really common one. I'm not smart enough, skinny enough, whatever, successful enough, articulate enough, whatever enough. And really that comes from this feeling of not having enough compassion and not having enough, self-love for ourselves. When we start to have this constant comparison with other people, which our world really perpetuates, social media, I mean, you just walk outdoors and we're constantly compared, right, with other people. It becomes very easy to feel, all right, well, do I measure up to that person, or did I get enough likes, or did I get enough, do I have enough money in the bank compared to this person or that person? So when I work with I'm not enough, we're really starting to remind people that you are born already approved of, you are born already enough, and helping people understand how to have self-love and compassion before, instead of trying to find validation outside in the world, we need to validate ourselves. And that takes a little bit of time because most of us have been programmed that we need validation outside of us instead of within us.
Interesting that you mentioned. It's got me thinking between I'm not enough and I'm feeling lack of something.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not that different. Is it different?
It
Because
is.
because I feel like I'm not enough, meaning that in my opinion, at least the way that I feel it myself, I keep raising the bar higher and higher. And I keep beating myself. That's
Yeah.
the way that I see. Like
Yeah. Well,
the
I'm not enough. We want to feel, I was taught by a coach once about the difference between circumstantial power and personal power. And,
that's a good one.
personal power is you are enough already. So if your business fails tomorrow or it triples in profit, either way, you're enough. You're smart enough. You're smart enough to run a business. It doesn't mean you're not good enough if your business fails tomorrow. It might mean you made some decisions that you'll learn from and you'll grow and you can pick yourself up and move forward. So we're allowed to make mistakes and we learn and we grow. That's literally how we learn and grow, right? So the circumstantial power really sets us up to never feel okay, because then if we don't get asked out on that date, or they break up with us, or something happens, boom, we're down. We're not enough. Boom, we're down. So I'm not enough is allowing ourselves to fill our own cup up first. We have these kind of, I train clients because I was taught this by a beautiful coach, was we have these jars of approval, control, and safety. They're already filled. And when we loan them out to other people, like, here, Mutita, make me feel good enough. And the moment you decide, well, what do you want me to do with this, Christina? Yeah, okay, you're enough, or I'm busy, I got to make myself feel good enough, then I fall apart. But when I take my jar and I make myself feel good enough, and I have to learn how to do that, because most of the time we're not taught how to take care of ourselves. We don't always even have parents that teach us self-love. They're pretty busy usually surviving, or they're not even physically or emotionally available or around for us to learn that. And it's really important. But something not being available to us is a deeper difference, because that's a sense of, can I connect and can I belong? And that's another topic of, we all have a deep sense and need to connect and to feel that we belong. It's a primal need, and to avoid rejection. Everybody on the planet, no matter where you live, nobody wants to feel rejection. We need to feel connection. We need community. We need each other. We needed it as a baby to survive. We need that connection. So think about it. COVID was a great example because we really felt disconnection, didn't we? And it didn't feel good. And just those little ways that we tried to grab on to find connection, because we feel valued, we feel heard and seen when we're connected. So, but finding ways that, we know that we belong and we connect. This feeling that I'm the same as you, you're the same as me. We're different, we're unique, but we're the same, we're connected. So I am worthy of love just as much as you are is really sometimes something we need to learn.
Yeah, I think another one for high achiever, at least myself also. Yeah, I just can only think about myself as well.
Yeah.
Self-blame.
Yes.
This
The
is
critic.
this is even harder to
Yeah.
deal with than not enough. Because I think it's somehow dealing with perfectionist so much.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Raising that bar all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
But many friend of mine having this issue though. But it's kind of contrary because like I think I can take like I think many people also have the same concept. Really take the whole ownership of what we are doing, at least what I am doing. Like I can say sorry very easy. Like it's on me. Like that is very easy to get out of my mouth. I'm not gonna blame other. It's okay. It's on
Sure.
me. That's
Sure.
on me. Like
Sure.
but it's gonna into be like that all the time.
Yeah. I know that perfectionist vibe very well. I understand that vibe. I can have compassion for that. And I lived in that and I still struggle with it. Because it can drive you to success. It can drive you to push you, right, for better and better. But it's a double-edged sword because it can also bring exhaustion. It can bring this thing that it's never good enough. Keep going. It's never good enough, which in many cultures and society is like, okay, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? It's raising the bar. And, there has to be a time where we learn how to self-parent. So I'm sure you've heard of the inner child, but the inner parent is, have you been taught how to parent yourself? Like, how do you take care of yourself? Or do you just push? How do you care for yourself? Are you tender for yourself? Do you let yourself rest? Do you let yourself like get lazy once in a while? Or do you say, get up, you lazy bones, get up?
Actually, this is so funny. This is so funny. I am a very predictable person.
Okay.
Because I have anxiety, therefore I have a very routine life. I'm like a very old lady. I have to have a routine to reduce my anxiety.
Okay, to feel comfortable, yeah.
Yeah. So that I am like my mom. So she's totally opposite from me. Like I'm gonna do laundry and my life is very simple. Like I wake up at the same time every single day. Yeah, I do podcast only on Wednesday, certain time. Like everything is the same for years until like something hit and everything going to change. Like when things change, everything going to change. And then I have to set the whole schedule again. So that's how it has been happening.
And something change kind of disrupts. It disrupts.
Yes, exactly. So the whole week going to change. And then we're gonna plan the whole month again. Like that's me. That's me.
So that brings predictability and calmness, that routine.
Yes. This is already good though. Before that, like, I can think like at least 3 years ago, I'm totally control freak. I can say I'm that level.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, like something that like happens not according to what I planned, I freak out. I scream. I used to scream. Like that bad.
Yeah. So if you want a little bit more flexibility, if you wanted that, then there's room in there to give you a little bit of room. She laughs.
I know. This is already better. Trust me.
No,
it's so hard.
Yeah, it is so hard. And I struggled with anxiety for many, many years, and I still do. And I had some trauma as a child, so I have a hypervigilant person inside of me that's can be very controlling and perfectionist, because that's what kept us safe, to know what to expect and to be very orderly and on top of it, not count on anyone, only count on ourselves. But also it's hard then to let people in and love you.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah.
So to have anyone change my schedule.
But when you start to let people in and take care of you, there's some pretty good stuff that can happen.
I know. Yeah, I agree. At least cook for me. That's the first thing because I don't want to think about that.
Okay.
In that case, I mean, I know. So these three things is like a real, I mean, like I have seen my friends, at least recently, like coming out from COVID, work from home is good though. But if you don't keeping yourself in somehow boundaries, like working at home can be relaxed. You can somehow flexible because you're in a comfort of your own home, but you can also be really lazy
Yeah. Yeah.
because you are very close to your bed.
Yes. So are you referring to like boundaries in terms of what your day should look like and your life and
Yes,
discipline?
since you mentioned that, because like I am totally the opposite of these people. I'm like almost OCD, I know, but
Okay.
but to the normal people, that is not like me. How they cope with the life that they also like set intention that
Hmm.
they want to feel healthier and also empowering, not like living intentionally, basically, not just like no direction at all.
Yeah, boundaries start with prioritizing your needs first, but you got to know your needs first. And having a loosey-goosey day where you stare at your bed and I might take a nap and then I might go back to work and I might, not have any structure doesn't mean you're prioritizing yourself. That's not you mean if there's a once in a blue moon and you feel like, wow, I really have a migraine or a headache today, I need to take a nap. Yeah, that's self-care. But prioritizing your needs is having self-love and compassion. And like you said, having time, maybe a morning routine, or actually eating lunch away from your computer and really enjoying a meal away where you're chewing your food and enjoying maybe a nice book and leaving the computer and prioritizing yourself and allowing you to be compassionate for yourself, because boundaries first start with what are you available for and what are you not available for.
Oh,
So
that's good.
yeah, because think about it. If you've been in a few relationships, after a while, you start to know, I am not available for that anymore. I used to have that kind of partner, but I'm not available for that kind of person anymore. No way. That's not what I'm available for. You have a boundary, right? And you just give off that energy and that vibe, or the type of friends maybe you had when you were a teenager versus now. You're like, no, I'm not available for that. You don't need to say anything. It's just who you are, because you have a boundary within what are you available for. I don't let people talk to me that way. Or you self-love and self-care, you have a boundary. So you have to decide and know what are you willing to let in and what are you willing, to the self-love and compassion. Brene Brown is the queen of boundaries. And I highly recommend her books, and she has a lot of Netflix and TED Talks. But she says that the people that have the most self-love and compassion, compassionate people, they have boundaries of steel, meaning that they have a clear set of boundaries in relationships, in life. So people that are the most compassionate have the strongest boundaries. So they're compassionate toward their self and they're compassionate towards others. And that doesn't seem like it would go hand in hand, does it?
It
It's
would it?
it seems like oh, if I'm compassionate, I have this bleeding heart and I would just not have any boundaries. But compassion sometimes, but what it means is I'm so compassionate, self-love, and you prioritize yourself first. So I'm compassionate towards others, but I'm really compassionate toward myself.
It's similar to what you mentioned. Like I know what I am available for, and I know that what I am not available for.
Yeah, yeah. And exactly. And this working from home more really requires self-care and a discipline of self-care and prioritizing ourselves, because it sort of starts to just bleed into work and all kind of mesh together. And then we're not really having separate time to take care of ourselves. We're eating breakfast while we're on a conference call. We're just kind of blending the two together. And so what are we saying? We're not sacred enough or important enough to take out time for ourselves. And boy, talk about anxiety that's just booming right now, because we don't separate our personal life from our business life. And we do need that. It's very important.
What about, so right now we are ending the COVID era, right? ending ending the COVID time. We getting to like meeting more people. But then how can we prevent? You mentioned something that is very good. Like we're not going to look for new boyfriend, for example, that's similar to the previous boyfriend that we don't like. I actually have the list. Like when you mentioned that, I'm thinking I actually have a list of not to have in the, like to have, not to have.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
not available for that anymore.
I know. So that's me. Yeah, I have that. So like I'm like, oh okay. Yeah. How can we avoid not to like fall into trap of like not having these type of people take advantage of us again?
The most important thing that your mind responds to are the pictures and the words that you say to yourself. So start paying attention. What are we saying to yourself? So, are we saying things like, I always meet the most, people that want to take advantage of me. I always meet people. I always have these terrible bosses who, always call me at 10 o'clock at night. Or, so you have a choice. We have choices. And your mind literally is responding to every word and picture. Again, remember, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong or good or bad. So the first thing I always do is I start listening to what the clients are saying to themselves. And so the words they say in the pictures, and the more descriptive the words, and the more powerful and impactful they are. So really, even just saying, I have the most incredible, amazing coping skills. I am like a magnet. The most amazing, incredible, dynamic people approach me and talk to me. When I go out for walks, I'm smiling. Incredibly energetic people smile back at me. I have them, my food is digesting and my body is so nourished. I mean, these are the kinds of descriptive, powerful words. So we underestimate our words and the images, but that is the subconscious mind. Like, just think of it as soaking those things up like a sponge.
Oh, I need to review that part.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I know that you have many tools of doing this coaching thing.
Yeah.
How can we know, like, when the clients or potential clients come to you, this is the problem that I face. How can you help me? What
Yeah.
next?
Sure. So I talk with clients about, okay, what do you want? What are you looking for? And clients don't need to understand how it's going to get fixed or any of that stuff. It's just really, how do you want to feel? What is it that you're looking for? And are they ready to do the work? And what that just means is that, this doesn't always feel comfortable to go in and explore why we have a pattern or a belief, because, our feelings, so often we avoid our feelings because they're uncomfortable, but our feelings are meant to be felt, and they're meant to be felt until the feelings aren't there anymore. So anger, all these feelings, they're all okay. It's just when we live in them for too long is when they're not okay. So when anyone ever says, I never get angry, I never get, this or that, I think there's kind of an issue, because we should all feel these feelings. They're completely okay. So, I work with people to find out, what is it that you want? Because you are worthy of love and happiness and joy and financial abundance and all these incredible things. You are worthy and deserving of all of those things. And let's just find out what is blocking you. And does a client feel comfortable and trust me? Because doing hypnosis or any kind of deep subconscious work, we go there. We're going to go deep. And I have, other different types of modalities and energy work. If someone's interested in that, different types of coaching in my 30 years as a leader in the corporate world, all types of different exercises to help you sift through, because it's the day-to-day stuff that gets in our way, where a client will call me and say, oh my gosh, this happened today, or I got in a big fight with my wife or my boyfriend, or my kids did this. And those are the ways we troubleshoot, and I help them use the tools every single day in everyday life.
Oh, and how can they work with you then? Where can they reach out to you?
So my website is wisewoods.com. And on there is a free download, and also book.wisewoods.com is how they can connect with me. And I offer a 1-hour free self-belief call, freedom to self-belief call, which is an opportunity that you can use 15 minutes of it or the full hour. And we can talk about if this is a good fit and if hypnosis is right for them. And certainly I know a lot of people have questions about it, so I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you so much, Christina, for joining Get Unstuck Radio today. I mean, like, oh, this is awesome.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
I hope this episode inspires you wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey so that you can have your business that supports your lifestyle. Get a show note at getunstuckmethod.com/podcast. Review what we have learned together today and start implementing right now. See it by yourself. The result of your consistent action are worth it. You deserve the freedom to enjoy your life. Until the next episode, let's get unstuck.